Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the opening ceremony of the HIMAHI Youth Model United Nations 2022-42. And now we are going to say hello to all delegates. We do really hope that you will always be in good condition. Stay safe and good luck for this conference, and also such an honor for me to be here and lead the prestigious conference. Attended the delegates from around Indonesia and connected to consoles. Before the beginning the opening ceremony, let me introduce myself as Master of Ceremony. My name is Sulfa Devi Kumaida, and I'll accompanying you to the opening ceremony of HIMAHI Youth Model United Nations this afternoon.
Just right.
The camps of the aggression was well.
The Nazis are often. Bangladesh is taking no room for calling
judicial independence.
right.
Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, for this session, I will hand over the chair from UNFCCC. Sorry in advance. Is Mr. Miko from chair UNFCCC ready? Mr. Miko?
Yes, good afternoon, delegates, and thank you for the recognition, Master of Ceremony. I hope the second day of this conference would be another fruitful and resulting conference and discussion. Hoping to see much more discussion happening in later of the conferences. Okay. Okay, please, delegates, turn on your cameras as we were about to start the conference. Okay, for those of you who could not turn on your cameras, please state that circumstance to the committee. Okay. Okay. So, technician, could you please go to the roll call? Thank you very much. Okay. Since this is the second day, we will conduct the roll call for all the participants. Okay, if I state your country's name, please state whether you are present or present and voting. Okay, delegate of Brazil.
Present and voting.
Thank you very much, delegate of Brazil. Delegate of China.
Delegation from China is present and voting.
Thank you very much, delegate of China. Delegate of Denmark. Delegate of Denmark. Counting once, counting twice. Delegate of Denmark is absent. Delegate of France.
Present and voting, Chair.
Thank you very much, delegate of France. Okay. Next up, the delegate of Indonesia.
Chair, the delegate of Indonesia is present.
Thank you very much, delegate of Indonesia. Delegate of Japan. Japan is absent. Delegate of the Russian Federation.
Delegate of Western Federation is present.
Thank you very much, delegate of Russian Federation. Present, present, present. Okay, so I see delegate of US attending the conference. Technician, could you please add US to the list of participants? I think you add it on the right side of the website at speaker. Yeah, set up. Thank you very much. Start session again. Okay. Okay. Delegate of USA, are you present or present?
Present.
Thank you very much, Delegate of the USA. Okay, so with that, we have 6 delegates present. The simple majority is 4 and the 2/3 majority is 5. Okay, we will now conduct the GSL. So the motion to restart the debate is only formality. We will now proceed to the GSL. Okay, GSL technician. Okay. Okay. The list was scanned. Yeah. Okay. So for those of you who wants to be included in this GSL, please raise their hand. Okay. France, you have been recognized. Technician. Okay, France, you have been recognized. Brazil, you have been recognized. China, you have been recognized. Brazil first, technician, and then China. Then China. Okay. USA, do you want to be included? You raise your hands earlier. Yes. Okay. I took that as a yes. USA, technician. Thank you very much. Any other delegates that wants to be included in the GSL? Counting once, counting twice. Okay, nobody. Are there any motions to amend the individual speaking time for this GSL? Please raise their hand. Okay, France, you have been recognized.
Thank you, Chair. We motion to modify the GSL time to 90 seconds.
No. Technicians, you do not need to add motion on this. You do not need to add motion on this. Go back to the GSL. Okay, so you change the time. Okay, you change the time to 90 minutes. Oh, before that, are there any delegates who are against this motion coming from the delegate of France? Please raise their hand. Counting once, counting twice. Okay, China. Okay. Okay, China. So 1 vote against. For those of you who are in favor of the motion to amend the speaking time from the delegate of France, please raise their hand. Counting once, counting twice. This is a procedural matter. Delegates, please vote. Russia, Indonesia. Are you against or in favor of this motion? Russia?
In favor.
You could just raise your hand, yeah, Russia. Okay. So with 4 votes in favor of this motion, the time will be changed to 1.5 minutes. Thank you very much. Okay. With that, France, you are the first to speak upon this GSL. Your 1.5 minute speaking time starts whenever you are ready.
Thank you very much, Chair, for the recognition, and welcome Delegate of USA to the conference. Maybe we can just summarize what has been discussing throughout the past day. So we've talked about how there is progress towards renewable energy, but the progress is not fast enough, especially considering the fact that COVID-19 has provided a large disruption towards the progress towards the 2030 agenda, along with other international commitments. Therefore, we have actually created a working paper last night to write about the progress, but we think there there is still a lot more to be discussed. For example, yesterday there was a disagreement in terms of the accountability measures. France believes that there needs to be greater transparency in ensuring that countries meet their national targets towards the 2030 agenda. We think that there needs to be a carrot and stick approach, in a sense that there needs to be incentive towards countries that are progressing well towards international goals. And also, we also need to make sure that countries that are clearly not showing any progress and not doing anything to change the status quo, we think that we can also criticize them and also put them at least in a disciplinary period so that they can have the incentive to change their measures. That is still an area of contention. But in today's debate, we also want to talk about industrial relations. We want to talk about how we can deal with fossil fuel companies to ensure that the economic impacts of transitioning to renewable energy will not be as consequential and that the transition will be smooth. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Delegate of France. The next to speak is the Delegate of Brazil. Brazil, your 1.5 minute speaking time starts whenever you are ready.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. First of all, I also want to welcome Delegate A, even though you are late. But Brazil really hopes that you will contribute a lot in the creation of working paper and also giving us more options in creating green technologies and also for us to develop the resolutions for limiting fossil fuels. Since we also know that in USA, one of the country that have most of the fossil fuels company. So we hope that the delegates of United States is going to enhance and to have more accountability for their companies of fossil fuels. And also Brazil hopes that the working papers that we are going to conduct today is going to have a definite resolution about how we are going to fight the climate crisis, and so we can continue the progress of our future. And also we hope that a lot of countries that present today to give more opinions and give more options about it. I've heard more options about the working paper as well. I really hope there's no an extreme contradiction to the working paper that are working on, because Brazil thinks that it's going to help in progress a lot for the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Delegate of Brazil. The next to speak is the Delegate of China. China, your 1.5 minute speaking time starts whenever you are ready.
Thank you so much for the time. Before it, I want to say welcome to the delegation of United States, because in the delegation of France and delegation from Brazil have mentioned that United States and China is the collaboration in climate change. I have to know that we give the gas emission carbon in the world is more lessness than the France and Brazil. And these activities which we can beneficially for each other to more focuses on dealing with the climate change. For example, they say that the renewable energy source account that they can make this successfully of this climate change. But we know that China and United States have the community and we have the solution, the best solution of this climate change. And I hope the delegation of United States can help me as the delegation of China to become the best, to search the best solution of these issues. Thank you so much.
Delegate of China, how would you like to use your time?
No,
Hand. Counting once, counting twice. Okay, Delegate of China, you have been recognized.
yeah, I will to give moderate caucus with the topic is economic business. Can I text in the chat box?
Yeah, that would be very helpful. While you're doing that, you could specify the duration and the individual speaking time as well. China.
The duration is 10 and the individual speaking time is 2 minutes.
Committee, the topic is in the chat box. Okay, thank you very much. There is an order, delegate of China. The country. Okay, thank you very much, delegate of China. We will accept one more motions, proposal for motions. Are there any delegates or delegates who wants to propose motions or points? Counting once, counting twice, counting thrice. I guess no. So we will now vote upon the most disruptive motion first, coming from the delegate of France, to discuss about minimizing the economic consequences of clean energy transition with the duration of 10 minutes and the speaking time of 2 minutes. For those in favor of this motion, please raise their hand. Okay, you will need to vote, delegates. This is a procedural matter. Okay, all of you need to vote. Okay, counting once, counting twice. Okay, with that we have 4 votes in favor. For those against this motion, please raise their hand. Okay, USA, are you in favor or against this motion? This is procedural matter. Okay, I know that this motion has passed, but for the sake of formality, for those of you who are against this motion, you also need to raise your hand. China, USA. China, USA. You're in favor. You could have just raised your hand. Okay. Okay. USA, are you in favor or against this motion? Delegate of USA. Is there something wrong with your mic, delegate of USA? In favor. Okay. Okay. So when I state delegates in favor or against this motion, you could just raise your hand. If I say delegates in favor, raise your hand. That means you are significant that you are in favor of this motion. But if you are against, then raise your hand. Okay, it's that simple. Okay, so with unanimous voice for this motion automatically passes. The motion passes, committee. Delegate of France, do you want to speak first or last?
First, please, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, delegate of France. Okay, so any other delegates that wants to be included in the list, please raise their hand. Brazil, you have been recognized. Okay, any other delegates? China, you have been recognized. We have still 2 more slots. Delegates, you voted for this. Okay, USA, you have been recognized. Okay, 1 more. Okay, by the discretion of the chair, we will invite Russia to speak upon this motion as well. Russia. Okay, with that, France, you are the first to speak upon this motion. Your 2 minutes starts whenever you are ready.
Thank you, Chair, for the recognition. As we all know, some of the reasons why we cannot fully transition into clean energy is because the fossil fuel industry is such an economic powerhouse in many countries around the world, especially in the Middle East, where it actually makes up the majority of their income. So we also need to provide incentives for countries who are very reliant on the fossil fuel industry so that they have the opportunity to transition without necessarily worrying about the economic fallbacks of transition. transitioning from fossil fuels, right? Because we acknowledge that the fossil fuel industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry, right? We cannot just simply take it away and not expect to have any resistance. Therefore, we think the first step that we need to do is have industrial outreach, right? We need to talk to these fossil fuel companies. We need to give them incentive to actually transition as well. Because if we only discuss among governments and the governments do not actually include these fossil fuel companies and other industrial actors in the conversation, that means we're putting them in an adversarial relationship where the two sides have different clashing conflicts, right? We think this doesn't have to be the case. We think that we can actually bring these fossil fuel industries to our favor as an ally. So what can we do now? In the status quo, they are run by profit, right? The reason why they're producing fossil fuels in first place is because of the economic benefits that they can reap. We think at the end of the day, governments can help by, for example, subsidizing companies that are committing to producing green renewable energy, for example. We can also provide tax cuts and other financial incentives so that they can actually move away from fossil fuel energy into cleaner versions of energy. At the end of the day, delegate, money talks, right? We're not going to lie. We acknowledge that there are many economic impacts. Therefore, governments must be the one to actually provide these economic incentives towards the industry. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Delegate of France. The next to speak is the Delegate of Brazil. Brazil, your 2 minutes speaking time starts whenever you are ready.
Thank you, Chair. Brazil understands that fossil fuel industries are integral part of many across the countries, with some countries even having it as major part of the government revenue, with many lives, of course, depend on it. France broke the idea of compensations, but the question is how then UNFCCC going to compensate those countries that depend on fossil fuel like you talk about? Yes, maybe there is an opportunity of compensation if we are talking about a certain government and then to their local companies. But I don't think that this proposal of transition in the compensation area is going to work. Therefore, Brazil proposes for not only something like compensation, but a whole shift in the company's market and company's production as well. That is, if to say that some fossil fuel industries are just creating fossil fuel product at this time, they have to go on to the transition to producing green technologies instead. So like mass production of social panels and something like that. And then there will be more fund and investment from both local government and then also direction from UNFCCC. Brazil thinks that is the most sustainable plan if we are going to really going through transition of the going to limit fossil fuels and more green technologies as well. And Brazil also hopes that more delegates to come up with more solutions as well in regards to this to minimize the economic damage as well, of course, because Brazil also thinks that the livelihood of people and also preventing climate crisis are in the equal chances of having to be fulfilled as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Delegate of Brazil. The next to speak is the Delegate of China. Before that, I recognize that the Delegate of Denmark has arrived. Could you, technician, could you please roll back to the roll call? Okay, Denmark, are you present or present and voting? Denmark? Denmark?
Present and voting.
Thank you very much, Delegate of Denmark. Could you please, in a short notice, turn on your camera as well? Okay. Okay. Thank you for the. Thank you, technician. Okay. The next to speak is the Delegate of China. China, your 2 minutes speaking time starts whenever you are ready.
Thank you so much, Chair, for the recognition. The delegation from China is agree with the motion about minimizing the economic consequence of clean energy transition, but this case is the economic consequence is the more important and significant for our country, especially like I think that economic consequence in this problem is more than especially because if we talking about climate change, we have to talking about the technology and etc. Like the technology have the need expensive of this technology. Like you are said that renewable energy and sustainable development, it can we make to become the technology that can beneficially to our country and other country. And I hope that the other delegation is have the most popular best solution of this climate change, because I think that we have to rise our economy and search we have to search to our economy to become these climate change have been clearly. And then the delegation of China also commitment with United Nations framework and argue that we have to sacrifice to economic development for environmental protection, and the economy is more important than environment, and that developed countries such as the United States and South carry more of the burden because they were able to grow their economy without limitation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Delegate of China. The next to speak is the delegate from the United States. US, your 2-minute speaking time starts whenever you are ready.
Thank you, Chair. I agree that most developed countries are really depending on fossil energy, and that is hard to transition. So we need to carefully plan and prepare technology to facilitate the transition. And I do agree with what the delegation of France says, that money is stalled. So I propose that we create a market for, especially for the developed country, so they are more interested with renewable energy, such as we can try to sell our technology that use renewable energy to the developed country, so they could transition easily. We cannot rush things, because if we rush the transition, it will be a catastrophic, especially for the developed country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Delegate of US. Okay, the last to speak upon this motion is the delegate of the Russian Federation. Russia, your 2-minute speaking time starts whenever you are ready.
Thank you, Chair, for the recognition. Russia is agree with the topic minimizing the economic consequence of the clean energy transition, because Russia is one of the big three country with the biggest oil export. And if we just think about how to transform the gas energy to green energy, we can just finish the issue of natural resources, but we cannot decline of the people who working in gas industry. We have to think. We also have to think too about the people and citizens who working in the oil industry. If we transform the gas energy into green energy, we have to think about the jobs to the people who working in our industry before, because money can build anything, can affect anything. We have to think about the people and citizen and employment who have the child, and they have to fund their they have to pay their children of money school, and we have to think about national incomes of the country. So we have to think about the solution and how to exist the solution to minimize the economic consequence. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Delegate of Russia. Okay, so with that, this motion has elapsed. Okay, so before we move on to open the floor once again, delegates, if in the WhatsApp group there has been a working paper, the chair recognizes it as the working paper 1.1 for this council. You could start discussing about it on the floor or on the on any motion or caucuses that you propose and later on accepted. Okay, just to tell you that. Okay, so now the floor is open for motions and points again. Are there any points or motions on the floor? Move to the motion, technician. Okay, could you please erase that? Okay, thank you very much. Franz, you have been recognized.
Chair, we propose a moderated caucus for 14 minutes and 2 minutes individual speakers' time to discuss working paper 1.1.
Okay, thank you very much, Delegate of France. 14 to 2, technician. That is in order, Delegate of France. Thank you very much. Denmark, you have been recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Thank you. I'm here to propose a motion of unmoderated caucus with a time of duration for 10 minutes.
14 minutes, okay?
Yes. I want to declare the reason behind this is that I think, like I said before yesterday, that we have a lot of things to say. And I think with moderated caucus, we are very, very limited to the discussion of the topic itself. So I think it will be much more beneficial to each members of states to actually be free in their discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Delegate. That is in order. Any, we will accept one more motion coming from the delegates. Are there any points or motion on the floor? Counting once, counting twice, counting thrice. No? Okay, so we will now vote upon the most constructive motion first, coming from the delegate of Denmark, which is to conduct an unmoderated caucus for the duration of 14 minutes. For those in favor of this motion, please raise their hand. Immediately. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. 5, 6. Okay. US, please vote. Okay. Okay. 6 votes in favor for this motion. Has been recognized. So, for those against this motion, please raise their hand. Before that petition. USA. Okay. Okay. Before that, I'm so sorry. I just recognized that India has attended the meeting. Okay. India, are you present or present and voting? Yes.
Present.
Present. Okay. I think India has not been set up. Could you please put India on the list again, technician? Okay, thank you very much, technician. India is present. Present. Okay, thank you very much. With that, we have 8 delegates present. The simple majority is 5. Okay. India was against, so there were 6 votes in favor of this motion. So this motion passes. Your 14 minutes unmoderated caucus starts whenever you are ready, delegates.
Okay, thank you. We continue. Thank you for every single delegate that voted against, with, or abstained this motion. Well, first I want to state that here we will talk about a lot of things. First, we will talk about the things that we are disagreeing about. I think one of the things that I want to clear more is to clarify more is the statement between countries stating that yes, we can actually minimize. Okay, we should set aside the economic aspect and focus more on the environmental aspect. I think it's very, very hypothetical and very, very easy for nations such as China and nations such as USA to say that, okay, we should focus just only for the environment stuff because you're developed and you are very, very rich in terms of GDP and so on. So you're fine in the economic part. But for states like Indonesia, Brazil, states that are located in the Southeast Pacific, very, very hard because they are focusing majorly on building. So they need the resources, they need the money, and they need the GDP, and they should not be focused more on the environmental. And once again, Russia states that we should disagree with this motion, but again, they're stating the same thing, which is they're focusing on the worker, which is again same thing about minimizing the consequence. So we didn't really fully understand what the Russians are saying about this delegates. So again, Denmark here states a clear confusion with the statements from USA and China. So that's why we from Denmark are requesting this.
So maybe we'll allow China to respond, or USA, whoever wants to go, or Russia, since you were mentioned. Does anyone want to reply? Perhaps a delegate of China, go ahead.
Yes, I want to respond the statement of the delegation of Denmark that we disagree with the minimizing the economic consequence because in our country, China, and China is the superpower country. You know that we have to know the economic consequence is more or less to we get to the like sanction in economic or sanction in military. But in this case, we have to talking about climate change. We have to talking solution. We have to talking the best of the part of the solution. But the economic consequence is not related to our discussion. I think that the related of our motion is why the country like China, Brazil, and etc. We have to search our best solution to the climate change crisis or this is climate crisis, not the economic consequence. Because I think that if we talking about economic consequence is more waste our time and more not effectively. I think that's one.
Right, Brazil, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I want to respond to the delegate of China because I think that the delegate of China just outright denying all of our discussion. If they're just going to say that minimizing economic damage, it doesn't have any kind of relation and it's not important at all, because that's the exact consequences that almost all delegates have been acknowledged if we are concerning the transition of green technologies, because we know that fossil fuel industries are billion-dollar industry that will be sacrificed if we are transitioning, right? China cannot just outright reject this idea and saying that minimizing economic damage is not important, even though because you are a superpower country. I agree with Denmark on this, and I also want to add that rather than saying that this aspect is unimportant or even though it's clear that environment and economics are really related to each other, let's just focus on our working paper as well, because we know that in our working paper there are solutions already right in there. So I think that we need to focus and direct our working paper so that we can go into conclusion what is exactly our path that we are going to choose. We're going to choose to move forward, something like that. Thank you.
Right, so I think I'd like to also respond. Firstly, we are talking about the economic consequences because it is one of the major reasons why countries have unable been to transition away from fossil fuels, right? We're talking about fossil fuel dependency, but we also need to be very realistic in our goals. Let's remember that currently there's a situation in Sri Lanka right now, which is actually tied to how they try to accelerate the progress towards organic agriculture. And although it seems kind of far-fetched now, it just shows that whatever we do, it needs to be very clearly thought out, right? But we also want to second what Brazil had said. Let's also talk about the contents of the working paper. So for delegate of USA as well, we think the working paper link is there, so you can kind of look at. It's kind of a combination of everyone's ideas. We actually really want to platform also China again, because China also wrote some things that haven't really been elaborated. So we'll give you a chance. For example, China, you talk about contributing funds to tree seeds and other issues as well. Maybe we want to hear your perspective. But before that, there are some delegates that haven't spoken. Maybe Indonesia, would you like to add, or USA or Russia? Please just unmute yourself and speak if you want to contribute. USA, go ahead.
Okay, so I do acknowledge that there's some superpower country that are really dependent on petrol and gas, such as China, and USA also are really heavily dependent on that. But we are slowly transitioning into renewable energy, and I do believe it is possible with our latest technology. We are start building some renewable electricity plant, but I am concerned about the third world country that haven't ready yet to develop haven't ready to transition into renewable energy, and they are heavily dependent on petrol fuel. And there's lots of them, such as the Middle East. They are really heavily dependent. I mean, the petrol fuel are their main source of income. So I think we should really plan about this transitioning things, because we cannot rush things immediately. We need to carefully plan so everyone can be satisfied with our decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Denmark, would you like to respond? Denmark?
Yeah, I think it's really frustrating for every single nation here to let the USA to talk about the Middle East dependency or no, because they're the one who's buying all of them. Actually, they're one of the most major importers of Middle East oil. So I think you can't just USA cannot just come here and say that this is because the Middle East and this is because they're doing this and they're doing that. It's because there's the contribution of USA. We cannot ignore there's the contribution of USA and in the dependency of Middle East in their oil fields and under oil exporting. So again, I heavily agree with Brazil. I think we should thought about it, and we should actually focus on the working paper that we have at hand, and actually talk about step on how we actually going to accomplish this. Because in order to sit here and state the things that the USA just stated, it's a waste of time, and it's very, very frustrating for everyone here. Thank you.
Okay, so it's kind of like an economic dilemma, yeah, as what Denmark has been saying. Technically speaking, countries are complicit in the production of fossil fuels, but countries are also complicit in the buying of fossil fuels. So they're also a reason why their market is still very active. So we also definitely can discuss more about that. In terms of the outcome document, so we actually kind of have to make this into a draft resolution. So actually yesterday, the delegates that joined the call, we kind of decided, okay, let's just try to make this into kind of a draft resolution format. So it's still currently like a work in progress, but we're going to share this in the Zoom chat so delegates can kind of look through. It's essentially just a fancified version of the working paper, and we really invite other delegates as well, yeah, to just kind of look through and add on to the solutions as well. So maybe while delegates are kind of reading through this, once again, since a lot of the solutions that are coming from China in the working paper haven't really been like discussed, maybe China, you want to elaborate a bit more on your proposals? China.
Yes, I want to elaborate more about my proposal because I think in this discussion, China, United States, and then Indonesia is abstain with the motion, I think. And I think that you say that economic consequence is more uh, give to China or United States, but the Denmark have been forgot that we have to more the best of pollution. The pollution gas emission is from China and United States. That's right. That's right. I think that in our country, the gas emission and then pollution in our country and United States is more than other country. But in this case, I want to give you the solution through the green technology. So I want to other country have to give their collaborating with us, especially China and United States, to become the more superpower country. So we have to more in this thinking of this climate change. I think that's right.
Right. Since we don't really have much time, maybe Rasha, if you'd also like to elaborate on your proposals or your stance, you have the floor, Delegate of Russia.
Okay. We understand that well, we understand that Denmark wants to some great solution about the using greenhouse, but we cannot directly decline and or directly delete the fact that we are all need the gas and petroleum energy for now, and then we have the we have to prepare ourselves, our country, to this transformation and this transition energy, and we have to think about how the solution to natural resources, how to uh, employ in gas industry, and how this transition affect the economic interest or economic wage of the country who have the natural resource of petrol and gas. So we cannot directly transform, but we have to prepare and we have to think about all many things. Thank you.
Right. Maybe Indonesia, would you like to have a closing statement, Indonesia? If not, then I'll give the floor to Denmark for the closing remarks.
Okay, thank you very much, French. I think we have to have some sort of understanding that after this, we should have a focus discussion about the working paper. Since I think the working paper is one of the important and most solid substance. So I think for the countries that made it last night and have a meeting could actually start first in the next session that we will have a moderate conference talking about the working paper and explaining how the draft is made and what are the draft lacks or what are the things that we need to be put in. And I think we should discuss more on the working paper. That's all I think for me. Thank you again for voting this motion. I hope we can agree on something. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Delegate. That was a wonderful merged caucus session. Okay, so we will have a short 10-minute breaks. After this, we will conduct the 5th committee session. Okay, for the sake of formality, the motion to suspend the meeting automatically passes. Enjoy your break, delegates.
heart beats fast, colors and promises. How to be brave? How can I love when I'm afraid to fall? But watching you stand alone, all of my doubt suddenly goes away somehow. One step closer. I have died every day waiting for you. Darling, don't be afraid. I have loved you for 1,000 years. I love you for 1,000 more. Time stands still, beauty in all she is. I will be brave, I will not let anything take away what's standing in front of me. Every breath, every hour has come to this. One step closer. I have died every day waiting for you. Darling, don't be afraid. I have loved you for 1,000 years. I'll love you for 1,000 more. And all along I believed I would find you. Time has brought your heart to me. I have loved you for 1,000 years. I'll love you for 1,000 more. One step closer. One step closer. I have died every day waiting for you. Darling, don't be afraid. I have loved you for 1,000 years. I'll love you for 1,000 more. And all along I believed I would find you. And time has brought your heart to me. I've loved you for 1,000 years. I love you for 1,000 more. One step closer. One step closer. Loving can hurt. Loving can hurt sometimes, but it's the only thing that I know. When it gets hard, you know it can get hard sometimes. It is the only thing that makes us feel alive. We keep this love in a photograph. We made made these memories for ourselves, where our eyes are never closing, hearts are never broken, time's forever frozen still.
So you can keep me inside the pocket of your ripped jeans, holding me closer till our eyes meet. You won't ever be alone. Wait for me to come home.
Loving can heal, your loving can mend your soul, and it's the only thing that I know. I swear it will get easier. Remember that with every piece of you. And it's the only thing we take with us when we die. We keep this love in this photograph. We made these memories for ourselves, where our eyes were never closing, our hearts were never broken, and time's forever frozen still.
So you can keep me inside the pocket of your ripped jeans, holding me closer till our eyes meet. You won't ever be alone. And if you hurt me, well, that's okay, baby. Only words bleed. And inside these pages, you just hold me, and I won't ever let you go. Wait for me to come home.
Wait for me to come home.
Wait for me to come home.
Wait for me to come home. Oh, and you can fit me inside the necklace you got when you were 16. Next to your heartbeat where I should be. Keep it deep within your soul. And if you hurt me, that's okay, baby. Only words bleed. Inside this pages, you just hold me, and I won't ever let you go. When I'm away, I will remember how you kissed me under the lamppost back on 6th Street, hearing you whisper through the phone. Wait for me to come home. Aren't you something to admire? 'Cause you shine something like a mirror, and I can't help but know.
Hope you have a short but refreshing break, delegates. Okay. To inform, since the delegates, since the conference has discussed about working papers, which is the prerequisite for the DR. With or without a DR, the DR will be open submission until 15:30. You could just share the link on the group WhatsApp, okay, on the WhatsApp group. Okay, so that's cool. Return to the roll call, please, technician. Thank you very much. For the sake, for time's sake, we will only call delegates that have been either present or voting before. Okay, delegate of Brazil.
Delegate of Brazil is present and voting.
Thank you very much. Delegate of Brazil. Delegate of China.
Delegate from China is present and voting.
Thank you very much, Delegate of China. Delegate of Denmark.
President voting.
Thank you very much, Delegate of Denmark. Delegate of France.
Present and voting, Chair.
Thank you very much, Delegate of France. Delegate of India. 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 Yeah, I could see you there, but yes.
President voting.
Thank you very much, Delegate of India. Yes. Okay. Delegate of Indonesia.
Present, Chair.
Thank you very much, Delegate of Indonesia. Delegate of Japan. Japan is absent. Delegate of Russia.
Present.
Pardon, Russia. Are you present or present at all?
Present.
Thank you very much, Delegate of Russia. Delegate of the United States.
Present.
Thank you very much, Delegate of the United States. Okay. Okay, done. We will move back to the GSL. Okay. United States have spoken before. Okay. So for those delegates who wants to be included in the general speakers list, please raise their hand. Okay, France, you have been recognized. Denmark, you have been recognized. Brazil, you have been recognized. China, you have been recognized. US, you have been recognized. Russia, you have been recognized. Okay. Okay, we'll accept 6 for now. Okay. So France, your 1.5 minute speaking time starts whenever you are ready.
Thank you very much, Chair. Perhaps we are going to summarize the meeting at night. What happened during that meeting, right? Firstly, it was the finalization of the working paper. We think that at the end of the day, the delegates were able to pull together ideas and essentially highlight their separate contributions to this conference. During the night meeting, we also agreed to essentially create a draft resolution that basically formalizes some of many of the solutions that were provided in the working paper, right? That is why we think the signatories are also the ones who have written that working paper, which we used to make it into the framework of the draft resolution. However, if United States of America wishes to add their name to the signatory list in the draft resolution, they are also very welcome to. They have edit access to do it if they want to. Now, just to clarify, this draft resolution is obviously not done yet. We're still in the middle of writing, and any delegate can contribute to the writing. They don't have to ask for permission. They can just edit at any time. But we just want to emphasize firstly that the draft resolution at the moment does encompass many of the suggestions that have been provided by delegates, and if it hasn't been written yet, perhaps it's because we haven't really discussed it in depth in the conference, or simply because we don't really have time to write that. So we actually encourage other delegates, especially if you notice that your solutions haven't been in the draft resolution yet, to highlight them and also address why it needs to be in the draft resolution. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Delegate of France. The next to speak is the Delegate of Denmark. Denmark, your 1.5 minute speaking time starts whenever you are ready.
Okay. Actions sounds a lot better than just words. So we can talk about this for months and months on end. And if no action is being conducted or enacted, this is all of the things that we're discussing seems to become nothing. So this is why we build this working paper, to have some sort of ground or substance, something that we can work on, right? This is why we are here today and talk about this meeting. So I'm going to summarize, the Denmark delegation would like to summarize what we have discussed yesterday. Because yesterday we have a very important discussion about two main keys of the solution on the working papers. First, we agreed that there should be penalties because the countries have been taken accountability, but there has not been a punishment to this country that fails to comply. So we believe that there should be a penalty and there should be a reward system that can actually incentivize countries that actually comply with it. This is first, has been agreed upon by all states. Second thing is, we believe and we are agreed upon that technologies of green technology should be shared all around the world, regardless of the developed nation or the developed nation. So we believe that these two are the keys to our working papers and should be the main backbone of the world itself. So I hope we can all work on this and believe.
Thank you very much, Delegate of Denmark. The next to speak is the Delegate of Brazil. Brazil, your 1.5 minute speaking time starts whenever you're ready.
Thank you for the recognition. Firstly, Brazil wants to directly discuss the points of the working paper in the sessions after this. However, Brazil also wants for delegate of United States and India to clarify their standings on this issue, since we haven't yet to actually listen to what they are thinking about this issue and what kind of solution they want to probe upon, especially the delegate of India that hasn't been talking at all since the beginning of this discussion. Aside of that, we want to emphasize our solutions in working paper and briefly explain about it. Before that, maybe a short clarification on Brazil's standing. So Brazil believes that climate crisis prevention is the utmost importance as of now. So we are willing to make compromises and impose some restrictions on ourselves. That is also translated into us urging for countries to also accept some kind of restrictions or limitation in their freedom regarding control of the environment in their own country, with the basis and the justification of they are actually willing to ratify or agree on certain agreement that will impose that kind of restriction. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Delegate of Brazil. Next speaker. Okay, we still have. Okay, China, you're up next. Your 1.5 minute speaking time starts whenever you're ready.
Thank you so much, Chair, for the recognition. Delegation from China want to summarize our working paper yesterday. The delegation of Brazil and delegation of France with me, the delegation of China is, I think that this is a misunderstanding from me, especially about the renewable energy and sustainable development technology. I think that the summary of the delegation of China is sustainable development is the infrastructure and technology that is more for implication more than important and significant. But I think that renewable energy is that important too, but not important like sustainable development infrastructure. And I hope the delegation of India and the delegation of Indonesia and the United States especially can help us to giving the best solution of your country. What is the happening of your country in the climate crisis, and what is happen in your country, and giving the best of your solution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before we open the floor, okay, the chair has recognized the crisis update. Okay, technician. Okay, could you move to the G-docs containing the crisis update? Thank you very much. Okay, a news coming from the Al-Khwarizmi news agency entitled "The Weaponization of Climate Cooperation: Breakdown of U.S.-China Cooperation After a High-Level Visit to quote-unquote Self-Ruled Province" by Cloud Stringway. 7 August 2022, a month. The world has seen militaristic escalation around East Asia. The escalation includes various deployments of militaristic capabilities, ranging from missiles, fighter jets, artillery barrage. Although the militaristic show was dubbed a mere exercise of sovereignty in the form of training by the People's Revolution Army, some analysts regard the act to serve more than just training, instead a retaliation. Retaliation that answered provocations. The actions from China came amidst a visit from Nancy Pelosi, a US citizen, and her entourage to the island of Taiwan. There are differing global opinions about the status of Taiwan. Countries abiding by the One China principle only recognize the PRC as the sole ruler of all of China, whilst there are also several countries which regard the island of Taiwan as an quote-unquote independent nation state. The visit of Nancy Pelosi to the island is unique, however, because of her status as the head of the US lower chamber of parliament. A high-level visit such that may constitute a change of foreign policy, one analyst suggests. However, other retaliation also follows suit after the Strait crisis. The PRC, the world's largest GHG emitter, decided to cease any discussion with the US on climate-related issues. This action casts doubts amongst global environmentalists and endangered countries over the success of climate projects, 100 days before the convening of COP27 in Egypt. Not too far from the East Asian theater, delegates across the world assembled in a UNFCCC meeting in Yogyakarta, Indonesia, to discuss, amongst other things, energy transition in the prevention of climate crisis. Given the global importance of climate cooperation to realize that goal, the future of energy transition remains full of pessimistic perspectives. Could the UNFCCC assist the global community, even if the two largest economies cut ties in climate cooperation? Should China be the only one blamed for the grim future? Could the US and other developed nations do more without the participation of China? Answer to those questions may be found after the conclusion of the aforementioned UNFCCC meeting. Okay, with that crisis update, we will now open the floor. Okay, motion please, technician. Franz, is that the point? Okay. Okay, motion, technician. Okay, the floor is now open for points or motion. Delegates who wants to propose a motion or points may raise that. Okay, Franz, you have been recognized.
Thank you, Chair. We propose a moderated caucus for a total time of 14 minutes and 2 minutes per speaker on the topic of discussing the recent crisis.
Thank you very much, Delegate of France. It is in order. Please wait, delegates. Okay, that is in order. Delegate of France, Delegate of Brazil, you have been recognized.
Thank you, Chair. We propose for a moderated caucus discussing the relation between United States and China. For the duration is 16 minutes with the individual speaking times of 2 minutes.
Okay, one note, Delegate of Brazil, if you want to propose an individual speaking time of 2 minutes, then the total duration must be multiplied by that, either 14 or 16. Which one do you choose, or any other number? 16 or 14?
Yes, I said 16.
16, okay. Okay, individual speaking time is 2 minutes. Okay, that is in order, Brazil. Submit. 16 to 2. Okay, we will accept one more motion. Counting once, counting twice, nothing. Okay, we will now vote upon the most disruptive motion first, coming from the delegate of Brazil, which is to discuss the relation of US and China for the total speaking time of 60 minutes and the individual speaking time of 2 minutes. For those in favor, please raise their hand. Counting once, counting twice. Please vote, delegates. Okay. Okay, there are 4 votes in favor of this motion. For those against this motion, please raise their hand. This is a procedural matter, delegates. You need to vote. You need to raise your hand to vote. Okay, delegate of US, do you wish to vote against this motion or not? And India, please vote. US. India. India is gone. Okay. Okay. Since there were 4 votes in favor of this motion, yet there are only 2 votes against this motion, we will review it after. Go back to the roll call. Since India is not active, we will put them in the absent list. Okay. And technician, could you please give us the information about who is this fellow name only UNFCCC? Okay, set India to absent. Okay, done. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we will review the vote, delegates. We will now vote upon the motion coming from delegate of Brazil. For those in favor of this motion, please raise their hand. Counting once, counting twice, counting thrice. Okay. There are 4 votes in favor of this motion. Okay. For those against this motion, please raise their hand. 1, 2, 3. US, please vote, or we will be forced to put you in the absent list. Okay. Okay. With 4 votes in favor of this motion and 3 votes against, this motion passes. Brazil, do you want to speak first or last?
Last.
Thank you very much, Delegate of Brazil. Okay, so we will now have at least 7 slots. For those who wants to be enlisted in the list, please raise their hand. France, you have been recognized. Please enlist delegates. China, you have been recognized. Denmark, you have been recognized. Denmark. USA, you have been recognized. Okay. And the delegates, counting once, counting twice. Okay, put Brazil, and then we will start the. Okay, France, your 2 minutes speaking time starts whenever you're ready.
China and USA, the first country, the most polluting country in the world, and the first country in the world to withdraw from the Paris Agreement. It is not a surprise, therefore, delegates, that these 2 countries are inherently uncooperative and actually place a very large obstacle in the fulfillment of the 2030 agenda. This is why, since day 1, delegates, we've been pushing for a carrot and stick proposal, in a sense that we want to bring delegates in line. We want to bring countries accountable in case of deviations from their agreements, right? We think at the end of the day, if there are no measurements to essentially bring these countries into disciplinary action, then countries are free using their own ego to essentially bypass climate agreements towards their own bidding. They're going to use this as a leverage. If you do not cooperate with us, we're not going to work towards the climate agreement. That is frankly blackmail, and we don't think that the UNFCCC deserves to have its dignity in here like this, right, delegates? That's why, of course, we cannot impose sanctions. That's not exactly UNFCCC mandate, but we can create deterrence measures, right? And we can have member states come together in solidarity to support these deterrence measures. For example, removal from trade, let's say, not trade preference status, for example, from the EU. That is a real thing, and we think that countries can coordinate their responses to ensure that there is global pressure, not just towards China, but also to USA and any countries that violate or go against the principles of environmental agreement, right, delegates? At the end of the day, we have tried to be nice. We have tried to consider the fact that countries are willing to cooperate, but we also need a contingency plan at the end of the day on what will we do in case countries do not want to cooperate. And at the end of the day, we think UNFCCC must impose its strength, must impose its influence to make sure countries know that they are not that climate protection is not an option, not optional.
Thank you very much, Delegate of France. The next to speak is the Delegate of China. China, your 2 minutes speaking time start whenever you're ready.
Thank you so much, Chair, for the recognition. The delegation of China want to explain about the relation of United States and China. I think that the relation about United States and China is we are the same blame of this climate crisis. I think that's not right, because the should be blamed in this climate crisis or in this climate change is not by China and United States, but in any country like you, Brazil, France, and etc. You got the gas emitter, and this is United States and China want to should be blamed in this climate crisis. After that, we have United States and China must be giving our best solution, and we have to know China and United States is collaborating with the UNFCCC, and we should bring the UNFCCC mandate and sacrifice to this economic development for environment protection, and then to collaborating with developed countries. Yeah, that's right. Because we should be blamed in this climate crisis, you have to know that we have the solution. We have the more effective solution for this climate crisis, not the blame in these issues. Thank you.
The statement that China, USA is the best thing as a solution is not true. And I think it's very, very frustrating for us here as France and Brazil and other nations hear about this. So we should agree to stop the lying and stop the gaslighting about you guys providing the best solution. We Denmark are fully aware of this is not being true. So yes, this is always we need to state that yeah, you guys should stop doing what you guys doing.
Thank you very much, Denmark. The next to speak is the delegate of the United States. United States, your 2-minute speaking time starts whenever you're ready.
Okay, we the delegation of United States believe that we can put aside this temporary dispute between US and China and work together to build a brighter future. And I would like to say that our political fight have nothing to do with the environment. It is purely diplomatic relation and diplomatic problem. Because earlier we have received like countless reports from our allies in Asia that China is threatening the democracy there. And we believe we must act accordingly to defend our allies in the region. And I think that what China did is really harmful for the democracy. And thank you. That's all.
Thank you very much, delegate of USA. Before we move on to the Brazil delegates, we still have 3 slots again. We will accept. Okay, we will invite the delegate of Russia and Indonesia to speak, and then are there any delegates who wants to be enlisted as well? Please raise their hand. Okay, France, you have been recognized. After Russia and Indonesia, then France. After Russia and Indonesia, then France. Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Brazil, you may speak now.
Thank you so much for the recognition, Chair. While China may has a justification on the ground of sovereignty, but Brazil thinks that United States foreign policy is simply to say interventionist, to disrupt the progress to prevent a major crisis, just for their idealized idea of freedom and democracy. If United States really wants to be a police of world, then United States needs to be involved in all aspects, including environment, by enacting all things need to be done in the Paris Agreement. Although we find it rather inconsistent of delegate of China, since they claim to not wanting to be blamed, but acknowledge their role as a major polluter, as a country that does not want to participate in Paris Agreement and blatantly do things that halt UNFCCC course of actions. What the council demand is accountability and proportional payback, right? As a major polluter, they need to act as a major contributor right now, not a major pull on resolutions of preventing climate crisis. That is why Brazil thinks that the relation of United States and China need to be cooled down. China needs to pull back their forces and United States turning down their aggressive stances on the relation of Taiwan and China themselves, since there are essentially an internal struggle of one China policy. That is why United States, essentially on the ground of sovereignty, does not have that much of a right to intervene with them, even though the delegation of United States stated that it is on the ground of democracy and alliance. Brazil thinks that the most important thing right now is the climate crisis rather than your idealized democracy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Delegate of Brazil. The next to speak is the Delegate of Russia. Russia, you may speak.
Thank you for the recognition, Chair. Russia also agree with the Brazil statement that in previous time, the United States is say that this is not relatable with the topic, and United States say that the relation of US and China is only diplomatic business or diplomatic companies, but we are now talking about how to reduce the gas energy. In fact, that China and United States of America is two countries who use the gas energy in the biggest sectors. Russia believes that China and United States of America is really think about their industry, the industry, and Russia is against that. China just only say that it is only gaslighting about the issue. Instead the gaslighting, we have to clearly find the solution, because China and United States are the majority of gas petroleum using. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Russia. The next to speak is the Delegate of Indonesia. Indonesia, you may speak now.
Thank you, Chair. Like Indonesia as a country on the rise, so Indonesia maintains a strong commitment to the foundational principle that the country should adopt free and active foreign policy, but Indonesia upholds a flexible foreign policy that allows it to productively engage with both the US and China. Like since independence, Indonesia has maintained a relatively cooperative and mutually supportive relationship with the United Nations. Like the current security partnership is limited by Indonesian current operating and strategic capacity. So Indonesia will continue to enjoy its middle power status and largely been in external strategy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, the Delegate of Indonesia. Okay. Well, we still have one more slot. Denmark, are you up? Do you want to be enlisted since you raised your hand earlier? Denmark. Denmark. Okay, since Denmark doesn't respond, are there any delegates who wants to be enlisted as the last speaker on this motion? Okay, seeing none, then we will, France would be the last. Okay, France, you will now have your 2 minutes to speak, starting whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. Delegates, we think we're getting a little bit sidetracked here with the conversation on One China policy, so on and so forth. We think the main takeaway in the UNFCCC Council is that uncooperative actors can derail climate agreements. That is the main takeaway from this crisis here, not on those security nuances. Let security topics be dealt with in the Security Council. What we want to talk about here is on how to make sure these uncooperative actors, such as in the case study of the crisis here between China and USA, but we also need to note that it's not exclusively just those countries. In the future, we will also face other uncooperative actors that might not recognize the legitimacy of UNFCCC. They might not even recognize the shared agreements that we have towards these goals. So our question right now is not about how to punish China or USA, but rather how to deal with uncooperative actors in general, and how do we make them go in line with the UNFCCC and recognize our legitimacy. That is the main takeaway from this crisis, yeah, delegates. So let's not be derailed from our priorities. So as what we've said in the solutions that we are proposing, really we want to make sure that the UNFCCC member states can actually join together in solidarity to make sure that UNFCCC in itself can be can balance the power polarity between the USA and China, right? We cannot let them dictate what UNFCCC can or cannot do. At the end of the day, the other countries in UNFCCC must band together to support deterrence measures, for example, and also to accept that the legitimacy of climate change does not actually come at the condition of cooperation with uncooperative actors. For example, we still have to move forward. We still have to bring them in line. That is why, delegates, in the draft resolution, if you can take a look at clause number 7 and 8 as well, we also talk about how we can keep these countries in line and make sure that incidents like this will not derail future climate cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Delegate of France. With that, this motion elapsed. The chair will recognize motion for up to duration of 10 minutes. After that, because we will have a slightly longer break of 15 minutes. Okay, are there any points or motions on the floor? Okay, France, you have been recognized.
Thank you, Chair. We propose a 10-minute unmoderated caucus.
Thank you very much. There is an order, Delegate of France. 10 minutes. Okay. Okay, Delegate of China, you have been recognized.
I want to give the unmoderated caucus with the duration is 20 minutes.
You want to conduct a moderated caucus or unmoderated caucus?
Unmoderated caucus.
The maximum time for now is 10 minutes, delegates. So if you are amending it, then you are seconding the motion coming from the delegate of France. Okay. Do you want to change your proposal?
Yes.
To
20 minutes.
No. We only accept 10 minutes in total duration for any motion. Okay. Okay. So if you don't have a different motion with a total time of 10 minutes, then you might as well retract or second the motion coming from delegate of France. Do you catch me, China?
Yes, I get you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Brazil, you have been recognized.
I'm France motion.
You are seconding France's motion?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Are there any points or motion on the floor? Counting once, counting twice. Seeing none, we will now vote upon the only motion coming from delegate of France, which is to conduct an unmoderated caucus for the duration of 10 minutes. For those in favor, please raise their hand. Counting once, counting twice. Please vote, delegates. Counting twice, counting thrice. Okay. Okay. There are 6 votes in favor. Okay. For those against, please raise their hand. Denmark, are you in favor or against? Okay. With 6 votes in favor and 1 vote against, this motion passes. Your 10 minutes unmerged caucus started whenever you are ready to.
So, delegates, because we have a deadline for the draft resolution, if France is not wrong, it's in 23 minutes. So we're going to share the link once again. If there are any corrections or any disagreements, please just let us know, and we want you to kind of give your 2 cents on it. We know Brazil has a lot to say. Brazil, maybe you want to take the floor for a while just to elaborate more on your topics.
Yes, but I don't. Before I'm elaborating my topic, I want to discuss about the very first solution coming from France. That is the measure of giving punishments. I think that that kind of limitation is, we still support that kind of limitation, but I think there is a need of conditions. Like, for example, a country that can be subjugated to deterrence measures need to have a clarity about what is the condition of these deterrent measures, and they need to consent and agree on the agreement of deterrence measures themselves. So if the country actually does not agree with those deterrent measures, then they are listed as countries that is not willing to ratify or agree on that measure. So the system is going to be like Paris Agreement. So it's going to be like Paris agreements. Maybe this will cause for, like, some countries cannot actually participate in UNFCCC's agendas that will require deterrence measures, but it is still a progress if there are a lot of countries that will still have a compliant about this. That's the first thing. The second thing is Brazil is going to address our solutions. So our 2 primary solutions that is newly added are: the first is limiting the production of corporations' fossil fuels, and the second is that shifting fossil fuel industries into green technology industry. Again, we need to address this again, because the limitation of fossil fuels are the one that is needed in order for green technologies to dominate the market of energy. And second, because we also want to still minimize the economic consequences, as what delegate of France said before. So we propose a solution of shifting fossil fuel industries into green technology industry, so that we have minimum conflict with the countries that the major come from fossil fuel industries. So let's just say that Middle Eastern countries will be shifted into countries that will manufacture the green technology industry, and we will share all the required technology, human resources, machine resources there. So we will focus on more there. So there will be still economical development.
Okay, thank you very much for that. We also, based on your suggestions, we have included smaller sub-clauses in 8A and 8B to kind of specify on your concerns. So we hope that you can check that out and see if that's acceptable to you. Next, we want the platform delegate of China. Delegate of China, is there anything in the DR that you feel we have missed or haven't really talked much?
Yes, I want to add your opinion about the economic consequences. You giving the economic consequences from the France and other country to China and United States, especially for China. But I don't care about the economic consequences, because I think that our country is a superpower country. You have to know that economic consequence is not the impactful for our country, China. China is the biggest superpower country in the trade, and you have to know the environment is not significantly than to our country. That the delegation of Denmark and the delegation of France, giving the question, what is the best solution of the delegation of China to providing the climate crisis? I have to explain our solution that China leaders will discuss new measures to tackle climate change in the National Development Plan for the next 5 years. China's President Xi Jinping hoped to make the country carbon neutral by 2060. Quoting from Reuters, policymakers in China are currently facing pressure on climate issues, especially in 5-year plans in the recording 2021 for until 2046. And especially with their economic growth has been hampered due to the COVID-19. And I think that in this case, China is more effectively to become not become should be a blame country. And I want to add that we have this solution to reduce our blame in this climate crisis.
Okay, we have some response, but we know Denmark wants to speak. So Denmark, please, you have the floor.
Okay, so first, I pass the floor to France. I need a moment. Thank you.
Sorry, Denmark. Okay. Okay. So we're going to first respond to France. China. We think we understand what you're coming from. You're saying that China, because China is an economic superpower, you don't care about the economic consequences because you can handle it. We think that is what you're trying to say, and we get it. But the thing is, our talk about the economic transition is not just mutually exclusive to China, right? Because maybe China has the money to transition effectively without worrying too much about the economic shocks. But that's not the same case with countries in the Middle East, for example. They're dependent on the majority of their income on fossil fuel. So even if China is rich enough to transition to clean energy, that is not the case for many countries in the developing world. That is why we put that resolution. We hope China understands it's not just about China, it's also about countries in the Middle East who are also major polluters. So that's the first thing we want to mention, right? But secondly, we want to re-emphasize again, what we want to discuss is the draft resolution. Is there anything in the draft resolution that needs to be worked at, or so on, etc.? Please, we want the focus on that part. Denmark, you have the floor.
Yeah, we agree on France that we need to focus about the draft resolution, but also we want to add on that we don't have the law that time to 2006, for example, that we have, and suddenly the countries such as all of us, we are not really sure about the commitment of China and following through about the promise that there will be carbon neutral in 2060, for example, since they pull out of such an agreement such as the Paris Agreement at the first hand. So we don't really we want to see a commitment from China first that they will going to follow through. So that's why we will not really trust China in following through, and we need to take China to accountability for their actions. So yeah, we agree, and we will return to France about the floor to work on the.
Okay, so since there's actually very little time left in the unmoderated caucus, so we really apologize if countries cannot really have the opportunity to speak. But once again, we just want to bring everyone to that link for the draft resolution because we're going to talk a little bit, right? Number one, a lot of delegates such as Denmark, China, Brazil, and France talks about green technology systems. So we decided to put it in clause number 1. Clause number 2 is on transparency framework. That's something that France has been talking about since the first day. The third is on the transition framework, which we talked about with Brazil, Denmark, China on this. And fourth is as well, takes into account Brazil's contribution, which says we need to consider other measures to make it more effective. So we considered Brazil's suggestion for that in clause number 4. In clause number 5, this is more on Russia's suggestion because Russia wants the focus to be on human activity. We need to change things from how people behave and basically personal responsibility on this issue. So that's for number 5. Number 6 is something that Denmark and France have been talking about for developing countries. Number 7 as well, and number 8 and 9 talks about the deterrence measures. This is something that Denmark and France have also talked about. So we think the ideas of all member states, especially from the working paper in itself, is accommodated. If it's okay, we want to send this to the chair through the WhatsApp group, especially noting the time we add delegates. Okay, sorry, time is up.
Thank you very much, delegates. That was another fruitful and possibly wonderful unmoderated caucus. We will now commence a 15 minutes breaks. Until then, after that, we will continue with the next conference as well. Okay, so before that, the chair recognizes the DR 1.1. After this, we will introduce it. The chair will suggest the delegates to introduce it in a motion, and then you could start discussing about it. Okay, thank you very much. Have a nice break, delegates.
Just put your hand on the glass. I'll be trying to pull you through. You just gotta strong.
'Cause I don't wanna lose you now. I'm looking right at the other half of me. The vacancy inside of my heart is a space that now you're home. Show me how to fight for now. And I'll tell you, baby, it was easy coming back into you once I figured it out. You were right here all along. It's like you're my mirror. My mirror staring back at me. I couldn't get any bigger with anyone else beside of me. And now it's clear as a promise that we're making two reflections into one. 'Cause it's like you're my mirror. My mirror staring back at me, staring back at me. I'm just something and original, 'cause it doesn't seem really as simple. And I can't help but stare, 'cause I see truth somewhere in your eyes. Ooh, I can't ever change without you. You reflect me, I love that about you. And if I could, I would look at us all the time. Whoa.
'Cause with your hands in my hands and a pocket full of soap, I can tell you there's no place we couldn't go. Just put your hand on the glass, I'll be trying to pull you through. You just gotta be strong.
'Cause I don't wanna lose you now. I'm looking right at the other half of me. The vacancy inside of my heart is a space and now you're home. Show me how to fight for now. And I'll tell you, baby, it was easy coming back into you once I figured it out. You're right here all along. Oh, it's like you're my mirror. My mirror staring back at me. I couldn't get any bigger with anyone else beside of me. And now it's clear as a promise that we're making two reflections into one. 'Cause it's like you're my mirror. My mirror staring back at me, staring back at me.
Yesterday is history. Oh, whoa, whoa. And tomorrow's a mystery, mystery. Hey, I can see you looking back at me. Keep your eyes on me. Yeah, keep your eyes on me.
'Cause I don't wanna lose you now. I'm looking right at the other half of me. The vacancy that's out in my heart is a space and now you're home. Show me how to fight for now. And I'll tell you, baby, it was easy coming back into you once I figured it out. You're right here all along. Oh, it's like you're my mirror. My mirror staring back at me. I couldn't get any bigger with anyone else beside of me. And now it's clear as this promise that we're making two reflections into one. 'Cause it's like you're my mirror. My mirror staring back at me, staring back at me.
Show me how to fight for now. 'Cause I don't wanna lose you now.
It's like you're my mirror. What would I do without your smart mouth? Drawing me in and you kicking me out. You've got my head spinning, no kidding. I can't pin you down. What's going on in that beautiful mind? I'm on your magical mystery ride, and I'm so dizzy, don't know what hit me, but I'll be alright. My head's underwater, but I'm breathing fine. You're crazy and I'm out of my mind, 'cause all edges, all your perfect imperfections. Give your all to me, I'll give my all to you. You're my end and my beginning. Even when I lose, I'm winning. 'Cause I'll give you all of me, and you give me all of you. Oh. How many times do I have to tell you? Even when you cry and you're beautiful too, the world is beating you down and I'm around through every move. You're my downfall, you're my muse, my worst distraction, my rhythm and blues. Can't stop singing, it's ringing in my head for you. My head's underwater, but I'm breathing fine. You're crazy now, out of my mind. 'Cause all of me loves all of you. Love your curves and all your edges, all your perfect imperfections. So give your all to me, I'll give my all to you. You're my end and my beginning. Even when I lose, I'm winning. 'Cause I give you all of me, and you give me all of you. Give me all of you. Cards on the table, we're both showing hearts, risking it all, though it's hard. 'Cause all of me loves all of you. Love your curves and all your edges, all your perfect imperfections. Give your all to me, I'll give my all to you. You're my end and my beginning. Even when I lose, I'm winning. 'Cause I give you all of me, and you give me all of you, and I give you all of me, and you give me all of you. Oh. Fast car, I want a ticket to anywhere. Maybe we can make a deal. Maybe together we can get somewhere. Any place is better. Starting from zero, got nothing to lose, and maybe we'll make something. And me, myself, I got nothing to prove.
You got a fast car, I got a plan to get us out of here and working at the convenience store. Manage to save just a little bit of money, you won't have to drive too far. Just cross the border and into the city. You and I can both get jobs and see what it means to be living.
See, my old man's got a problem. Live with a bottle, that's the way it is. He says body's too old for working. His body's too young to look like his. My mom went off and left him. She wanted more from life than he could give. I said somebody's got to take care of him. So I quit school and that's what I did.
You got a fast car. Is it fast enough that we could fly away? We gotta make a decision. Leave tonight or live and die this way.
So I remember we were driving.
Return immediately to your seats, delegates.
City lights.
We will wait until 15:05. Please return immediately, delegates. Okay, delegates, hope you have a wonderful short break. Okay, MC, okay, go back to the roll call again. Okay, so I will call upon those, upon the country's name that have been either present or present in voting before. Go. The delegate of Brazil.
President voting.
Thank you very much. Delegate of China.
President voting.
Thank you very much. Delegate of Denmark. Okay, we'll skip Denmark for now. Delegate of France.
President voting, Chair.
Thank you very much. Delegate of India is absent by the participants list. Okay, delegate of Indonesia. Indonesia.
Delegate of Indonesia is present, Chair. Thank you.
Present. Okay, delegate of Japan is absent. Delegate of the Russian Federation. Russia.
The delegate of Russia is present.
Okay, present and voting. Russia. Your voice is inaudible. Okay. Okay, present and voting. The United States.
Present.
Thank you very much. Okay, Denmark is what's that, Denmark? Are you present and voting, Denmark?
Present voting.
Thank you very much. Okay, done. So the total delegates present is 7. The simple majority is 4. Okay, done. Okay, we will not go through GSL first. We will go straight to introducing the DR, the motion, please, the motion, okay. Add motion and then custom, okay. The chair suggests the delegates to propose the motion to introduce the DR, motion name, topic, introduce the DR. Okay, Franz, you have been recognized.
Thank you, Chair. We proposed an introduction of DR 1.1.
Thank you very much. Of DR 1.1. Okay, under the chair's discretion, this motion automatically passes. You could submit it first. Okay, so what are we going to do is that we will have a reading session for 10 minutes, and then the sponsor, which is the French Republic, you do a presentation for 15 minutes, including the Q&A session. Okay, so 10 minutes reading time, and then 15 minutes presentation and Q&A. Okay, technician, could you please share screen the draft resolution? Okay, and do the timer of 10 minutes. Okay, thank you very much. Share screen the DR, please. Okay, under the request by the committee, the reading time will be cut in half, on only 5 minutes. So it will end at 15:14. Technician, could you please show the time, the remaining time? Okay, we still have 2 minutes. Okay, the time has elapsed for the reading time. Technician, could you please set a timer for 15 minutes? So the Q&A session, if a delegate is asking question, the timer will be paused, and then when Franz started to answer it, the timer will be resumed. Okay, could you please set it to 15? Thank you very much. Okay, Franz, your presentation starts whenever you're ready.
Committee, can you allow me to screen share? Sorry, committee. Okay. Thank you very much. And firstly, we apologize for removing edit access because we just want to respect the chair's wishes of not allowing any more changes at this time. So even though the sponsor says France and Brazil, but actually this is a combination of all the contributions from countries, especially from day one. We're going to give special mention to Denmark, China, Indonesia, and Russia. But of course, we are very much welcoming contributions from India and USA as well today. So we're just going to focus more on the operative clauses, and we're also going to give credit where credit is due, but we apologize if we might have missed some countries. Yeah. So firstly, in the topic of green technology systems, we give this credit the most to Denmark and China, but also to Brazil and also France. On talking about the transition to green technology systems, we think that at the end of the day, green technology systems can provide a very good platform to enhance the use of renewable energy, especially when it comes to the potential that they have in the status quo. We think we should improve on that potential. So that is for clause number one. Clause number two, this is something that France has been advocating since day one. It's to increase transparency frameworks on the reporting of energy consumption. So we want more data gathering mechanisms on the ground, especially in countries that are heavy polluters. We need to make sure that the data is verifiable and that there is actual accountability based on neutral bodies and personnel that's present on the ground. That's for clause number two. Clause number three, it's mostly talking from the perspective of France, Brazil, and Denmark on the transition from the fossil fuel industry. We think that there needs to be a framework that minimizes the economic impacts. And for number four, even though this is mostly done from France and Denmark, but we want to really recognize Brazil's contribution in the sub-causes because they suggested a lot of the mechanisms, for example, having these companies participate in the research and at least research and production on green technology. So we want to credit Brazil on this one. We also think that 4C is mostly credited to Russia. Russia wants to look at the human impacts of renewable energy. So that means that we need to have education and training for workers in the fossil fuel industry so that they can transition to other industries once we move away from fossil fuel. So that is that idea. So number 5, this is also coming from the delegate of Russia on the human activity. We think we need to change how humans consume energy as well. Instead of just doing it at top level, there needs to be a situation at the civilian level as well. That is what this clause aims to do. Now, number 6, we also need to consider a lot. This is also coming from Denmark, Brazil, and France. Is on the development of renewable technology within the national capacities. That means we want it to be realistic. We wanted to make sure that any suggestions such as subsidies is within the national capacity. That's why that caveat is implemented here. Number 7, this is very much emphasized from the perspective of delegate of Denmark, Brazil, and France. It's on supporting the developing world, right? We really want to use capacity building. We want to use technology transfers. We also want to make sure that country-specific goals are pretty much realistic, especially given their limited capacity. Now, number 8 is something that France has been advocating and really supported by delegate of Denmark. This is the creation of deterrence measures that essentially puts countries in line to adhere with environmental expectations, right? And we think that 8A is considering Brazil's input, which is we must consider the principles of consent. It also needs to be done essentially as a collective effort. So that is the consideration from Brazil, which we inputted in the DR. Number 9, this is something that France has emphasized as well. We need member states to cooperate in solidarity, just in case there are breaches when it comes to the UNFCCC. We need to reiterate the legitimacy of this council. That means that we need to accept and implement deterrence measures. And clause number 10, mostly coming from Russia, but also stipulated from other countries as well, is we want to reassess realistic renewable energy targets at multilateral level. So in the initial proposal was 25%, but France just edited that because we want a more flexible framework, essentially. So we just said that it should emphasize the extended production and usage of renewable energy sources by 2030 under current and future UNFCCC frameworks. So at the end of the day, we understand that this is essentially a combination of many member states' ideas. Therefore, we know for sure there will be some clauses that might not necessarily have the full agreement of all member states. But at the end of the day, that's what a draft resolution is for. It's to combine ideas together and kind of synthesize them into a measurable outcome document that can actually achieve the goals that we want, right? But to give the closing remarks, we yield our time to our co-sponsor, the delegate of Brazil. Is the delegate of Brazil here?
Yes, thank you so much, delegate of France, for the splendid explanation of our DR. So for just a little bit of statement from Brazil, we are supporting this DR because most of the things in this DR are in line with our purpose and we have decided that all of these clauses are effective in the preventions of climate crisis and to make all the member states to participate more into the prevention of climate crisis and also still address the recent crisis of member states such as United States and China that happened recently, while still directing them at how they should participate more in the prevention of climate crisis. Those Brazil's mechanism in this DR are also contributing more, and of course Brazil will also extend more hand especially toward developing countries that is in need for support in the green technologies aspect and also in the manufacturing, as we have an abundant supply of that. That is why this DR needs to be recognized, and I hope that for other delegates to consider this DR as one of as the implication for the final.
And thank you very much. Yes, Chair. We yield the floor to you.
Thank you very much. The sponsors of the technician, could you please pause the time? Pause the timer. Okay, yeah, pause the timer as of now. Okay, and you could you share screen the timer as well? Okay, 7 minutes. Pause it. Okay, we will regard this at 7 minutes. The unmod timer. Okay. We will regard this as 7. Okay, 7. Okay. So the kind of questions that the delegates, other delegates, both signatories and non-signatories could ask is clarificatory questions, such as does the sponsors have included this in the DR? Does the sponsors believe in this, which is implemented in the DR, etc.? You cannot ask like, how would the sponsors realize this, or would the sponsors realize this? Okay. Or if you want to be creative, does the clause number 8 truly, for example, does the clause number 8 truly realize the discussion that we have undergone before? You could do that. Okay. As long as it is questions that backs the answers yes or no, it is very accepted. Then the sponsors could have time to explain why they answer yes or no. Okay. Are there any delegates who wants to ask questions to the sponsors? Counting once. Questions, delegates? Okay, I'll wait for 1 minute. Yeah, I'll wait for 1 minute. With the delegates still reading and comprehending the DR.
I have the delegation of Denmark have a question.
Okay, Denmark, go on with your question.
Thank you. Does the maker of this draft resolution has already included that after the after the sharing of the technologies, of the green technologies, is it also included that it is giving the blueprints and plans to undeveloped or developing nations?
Okay, technician, you could start the timer right now as the sponsors are.
Okay, so thank you very much for the question, delegate of Denmark. The answer is yes. So perhaps we want to reframe the question a little bit. So the question is, in the event where technology transfers, for example, or any form of provision on this green technology is being given to developing countries, is there a long-term sustainable framework to ensure that these developing countries can actually utilize these green technologies efficiently? So that is how we perceive that question to be. So we answer yes, because in clause number 7, it actually talks about supporting the developing world in the fulfillment of environmental protection and sustainability, such as the use of capacity building and technology transfer. So we want to focus on technology transfers as well, because the mechanism of technology transfer is, for example, intellectual property waiver, or allowing these developing countries to essentially use existing research in the developed world to make it their own and allow them to produce their own green technology. We think that question is already facilitated in 7A. But we also want to yield this to Brazil, who is also from a developing country, if they want to elaborate.
Thank you so much, Delegate of France. So in the aspect of sharing technology, Brazil believes that the joint work and the sharing the technology sharing aspect and concepts are the utmost importance in preventing climate crisis. That is why Brazil, as one of the developing countries, but also at the same time, one of the leading nation in the application of renewable energy, will of course act in accordance to the DR as well. And of course, as I have said before, we will always extend our hands, especially for the developing nations who is in need for the manufacturing of renewable energies, such as solar panels and wind energies. And also we will of course still support the developed countries who wish to invest in our sectors of renewable energy, and also in the manufacturing in the developing nations as such. That is why we think that sharing technologies in the sharing technology aspect in the DR will of course be conducted and will be prioritized as for Brazil. Thank you.
Pause the timer, technician. Okay, we will open for another questions from the delegates. Okay, we will wait. Okay, USA, you have been recognized.
Okay, I would like to ask about do I participate in signing this discussion draft, because I didn't see the name of my country on the draft that we are discussing. I was just curious. Thank you.
Okay, since this is a yes or no question, technically that answer is no, but it doesn't mean that the USA is excluded from the draft resolution. Perhaps we will explain how the signatories and sponsors came to be. So at the end of day one, the current day one member states came together in a Google Meets call to essentially finalize the working paper and also start on the draft resolution. So that is when we agreed, okay, everyone that was in that call, plus Denmark, because Denmark also wrote their suggestions in the working paper, will be part of the draft resolution. So that's the first step, right? But secondly, because technically speaking, we have already placed the link for the draft resolution at the start. So if the USA had wanted, they could have just put the country's name in the signatories. But nevertheless, we also have this caveat. Even if the United States is not a signatory to this draft resolution, it doesn't mean that this draft resolution doesn't apply to them. In fact, any past draft resolutions in the UNFCCC applies to all UNFCCC member states. That means that even though technically the USA did not participate in the creation of this draft resolution, but they're still expected to follow the outcomes of the draft resolution as part of the principle of pacta sunt servanda, but also under the practice of goodwill. But nevertheless, we want to stress that we don't mean to exclude the delegate of USA. Of course, if you notice, the delegate of India is also not written in this draft resolution because they were not present in day one. And we are truly apologetic. Perhaps we should have did more outreach as well during the unmoderated caucus, but noting the time constraint, of course, there are some inevitabilities. But once again, we want to emphasize that USA is still expected to follow through, especially considering the fact that this draft resolution explicitly singles out USA in the current crisis, right? But just to elaborate more, maybe delegate of Brazil.
I will yield the time to the chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sponsors. We're open for another questions, another clarificatory questions. Okay, China, you have been recognized.
Okay, I have the question for the delegation of France and delegation of Brazil, that point number 4, that you have to
Start the time when the questioner when the delegate asking question, you do not start the time. Okay. Refer back to 232.
Okay.
Okay, China. Truly sorry. Just change the speaking time to 232. 2 minutes 32 seconds. 32. Okay, select. Okay, we'll start it later. Okay, China, you may continue. Sorry.
Okay, I will be back to my question. That the point number 4 is you said that the mitigation strategy to the limit to economic consequence, but you have to say that you agree with the technology, you agree with the renewable energy technology, that you say that you have to bring the economic consequence with our DR, and I have to give number 10 that climate with the renewable energy is cooperated with the UNFCCC. What is the main idea of the number 4? Can you
China, I'm afraid that that question should be ruled out of order. Well, we are seeking a clarificatory question, as I mentioned earlier, which is to beg the question answer yes or no. Okay, you could amend your question to does clause number 4 actually does clause number 4 is intending to fulfill this? Does clause number 8 intending to fulfill this? Does clause accepts the columns or accepts the columns of China? Okay, I will give you another questions to amend your question, Delegate of China.
Okay. What is the main idea of the friends of the growth of economic?
No, you cannot use what, how, use question words. Okay, question answer yes or no. Okay. Do you catch me?
Sorry, sir, your connection is unstable.
Yeah, my connection is unstable. You could only use interrogative answers yes or no. You cannot ask what is the main purpose of this clause. You could only ask, does this for example, does this clause actually intends to blah 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 blah? Does this clause actually incorporate China's interest, for example? Okay,
yes.
Is that understandable, China? Okay.
Yes, I got you, sir. Does the economic consequence can successfully for us? Yes or no?
So the answer is yes. So in the status quo, China has been saying, oh, we don't need to focus on economic transition because China is a rich country. But please note, China, that this clause number 4, is not just for you, China, but it's also for other countries that may not necessarily have the economic leverage as China to transition smoothly into renewable energy. Because for some, fully transitioning away from fossil fuels is an economic disaster waiting to happen. That's why we want to make sure that the transition is step-by-step process so that we can minimize the economic damage that is being caused to the local economic stakeholders. But we want to elaborate more on this, but we want to give the opportunity to Brazil, maybe, to give the first layer of response.
Thank you, delegation of France. Brazil thinks that China needs to involve all of the nations that exist as member states, including developing nations, in accordance to what they want to ask in the next session, and also to be mindful that all of the clauses in this DR is not revolving around only superpower countries like China and United States. So this exclusivity does not exist in our DR because we are aiming for the inclusivity of the resolutions and the implication as well. That is why we are leveraging the systems like technology sharing and also extending hands and all of that, because we are aiming for an inclusivity of participations. Thank you.
So Franz will give the last layer of response to China's question. So this is actually a concern that delegate of Brazil had actually solved, because in 4A, we talk about how subsidies is not really enough. We also need to make sure that corporations are actively supporting green technologies. That is why we specifically placed 4A after Brazil's suggestion. So even though this draft resolution was mostly written by France, but the ideas are still very much incorporative of many other member states and their suggestions, right? So China here says we want technologies to happen. We want to assure China once again that green technologies will happen in hand with our additional solutions. None of these clauses in the draft resolution contradicts the principles of green technology, because as we can see from even clause number 1, we want to encourage green technologies to happen. This is something that even the delegate of Brazil has been championing, as well as the delegate of Denmark and China. Thank you.
Thank you very much, delegates. Okay, thank you very much for the for those delegates who asked questions and for the co-sponsors who answered all of them. Okay, so for the sake of time constraint, we will not entertain amendment. We will finish the conference quickly, much more quicker than the intended rundown by the committee. It has been permitted to do so. Okay, so after this, we will now move to another roll call, and then we vote on the motion. Okay, we vote on the draft resolution. Okay, this is the roll call. This is the roll call before the vote for the draft resolution. So please be reminded, delegates, that if you choose to be present, you could abstain in the voting of the DR. But if you choose to be present and voting, you cannot abstain from the voting of the DR. Okay. Okay. The delegate of Brazil.
Present and voting.
Thank you very much, delegate of Brazil. Delegate of China.
Present and voting. Thank you, Chair.
Hello, Chair. Yeah, delegate of Denmark. Sorry, I was muted.
Present and voting.
Present and voting. Okay. Delegate of France.
Present and voting, Chair.
Thank you very much, delegate of France. Delegate of India. India is not present. What is it? India? Nope. Okay, India is absent. Delegate of Indonesia.
Thank you, Chair. Delegate of Indonesia is present and voting.
Thank you very much, delegate of Indonesia. Delegate of Japan is absent as well. Delegate of the Russian Federation.
Present and voting.
Thank you very much, delegate of Russia. Delegate of the United States. Present. Thank you very much, delegate of the United States. Done. Okay, so technicians, you move to vote. Okay, you move to vote. This is a substantive, and it needs 2/3 majority. It needs 2/3 majority. Okay, submit. Okay, so okay, we will entertain as well yes with rights and no with rights. Okay, so for those who didn't know, yes with rights, in favor with rights, or against with rights means that you will have 1.5 minutes time to speak whether you are in favor or why you are against. Okay, I think that's clear now. Okay, so first up, the delegate of Brazil. What is your vote upon the DR?
With rights.
Yes, with rights. Okay. Technician, move to unmod, or if you okay, move to unmod. Change the speaking time to 1.5. Okay. Brazil, your right to speak about your vote starts whenever you're ready.
I think that it is already clear that I am in favor, as I am one of the sponsor as well. But I need to elaborate and emphasize more why it is urgent to accept this draft resolution for all of the countries, especially because we have superpowers and developed countries as majority in this council. I really as behalf of developing countries, I need to all of the delegates of the majority of the delegates to emphasize the consequences of climate crisis and the importance of this DR, especially to the developing nations, because developing nations are currently the one who are most vulnerable to the climate crisis, because one, most of the developing nation doesn't have any measures to actually combat the climate crisis. Second, developing nations are not like China, who is superpower country that have a privilege in the economical aspect. And third of all, the impact of the climate crisis are affecting us the most, because first, some things like agriculture are being disturbed by the climate crisis, even though it is one of the major revenue for developing nations. Second of all, there are also the rise of environmental refugees. I have raised this aspect also in the day one, and I think that this needs to be considered as one of the most important subjects.
Thank you very much, Brazil. Okay, move back to the vote. Okay, you could just X that. Okay, delegate of China, what is your vote?
In favor.
Okay, just in favor. Okay. In favor only, in favor. Okay, delegate of Denmark. Denmark.
In favor with rights.
In favor with rights. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Press it first. Okay, and then we move to one more. Okay. Set. Okay, Denmark, your 1.5 minute speaking time starts whenever you are.
Thank you, Chair, for the recognition. Also, thank you for Brazil and the country of France to have constructed such a draft resolution that can accommodate all of our solutions in one draft and one final resolution. So first of all, the reason behind why the country of Denmark is agreeing or voting with the resolution is first that it has the solution that we as the country of Denmark agrees upon, such as the technological sharing and also the penalty that countries need to stay in line and comply with the renewable energy change. So we believe that as countries diverse and more countries join the UNFCCC, we need to have some sort of a punishment or a penalty to punish countries that don't want to comply with the rules and our agendas in the UNFCCC to diverse or to solve the problem of the climate change. So, and also we would like to believe that with technological sharing, we will provide more energy and more clean energy with minimizing the economical sanction or economical disbenefit from the transition as well. So that's why we as the country of Denmark agree with the draft of solution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, delegate of Denmark. Delegate of Finland.
In favor with rights, Chair.
Thank you very much. Okay, in favor with rights. You may speak now.
Thank you, Chair, for the recognition. Seeing that the Paris Agreement was literally signed in France's own capital city, we already felt a moral obligation to make sure that the Paris Agreement has been fulfilled. And coming into the conference, we have a dilemma, of course, because we are also making sure that our namesake agreement has to be kept and also has to keep the legitimacy. It was a difficult time playing the role of the moderator because, of course, we are a developed country, but we also need to consider the roles of the developing country as well, which is why France also invited Brazil to become a co-sponsor as a form of endorsement from the developing world in some way. But of course, that does not exclude contribution from other countries such as Denmark, China, and Russia. Now, let's take a look, delegates. Since day one, France has been imposing agenda setting. We want to make sure that what we prioritize is being discussed upon, and we're very satisfied with the outcome. We think other delegates were able to contribute meaningfully towards the agenda setting provided. For example, talking about economic transition, talking about deterrence measures, and talking about the role of capacity building in developing countries. We think that other countries in the UNFCCC were able to meaningfully build upon the foundations of the Paris Agreement, along with France's own agenda in this council. And we're very happy to note that every country's perspective and opinions have been accommodated in the DR. Therefore, we're very proud of this achievement. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Delegate of France. Okay. The next to vote is the Delegate of Indonesia. Indonesia, what is your vote?
Thank you, Chair. In favor with rights.
Okay. Okay, you may now speak.
Thank you, Chair, for the recognition. Indonesia as developing country, we are agree and proud of the solutions that have met because they are inclusive, proper mechanization, and solve all of the problems. So also we are proud to work with France, Brazil, and other delegates who contribute to make this draft resolution. So that's why Indonesia agree with the draft resolution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Delegate of Indonesia. Okay, so delegates, although we have reached two-thirds majority, we will count all the votes. Okay. Next one to vote is the Russian Federation. Russia, what is your vote?
In favor with rights.
Okay. In favor with rights again. Okay. Okay, you may now speak, Russia.
Thank you, Chair, for the recognition. Russia is really agree with the DR 1.1 because not only the DR not only consider about the developing country, also consider about the how to transform the energy. And Russia as the biggest country with the oil, they agree because this DR is drive to minimizing the using the using of oil and the minimizing of the economy effect or economic consequence. The Russia is also agree with the DR because some of clauses is considered to developing country too, a country as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rasha. Okay. Okay, the last one to vote upon this motion is the delegate of the United States. United States, what is your vote upon this draft resolution 1.1?
The delegation of United States is in favor with right.
Okay. Okay. You may now speak, delegates.
Okay, so we are agreeing on this DR because we believe that we can slowly transition into a new renewable and greener energy. We might be heavily dependent on fossil fuel, but we believe we could change that. And we also agree that this DR, we also agree to this DR because it's encourage and support toward the developing world. And I believe it will be a good thing for the developing country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, delegate. The draft resolution 1.1 consulted, drafted, and also voted upon in the UNFCCC meeting on 6 and 7 of August 2020 in Yogyakarta, Indonesia. is unanimously voted in favor by the delegates present, with 7 in favor and 0 against, 0 abstaining. Okay, this is a very then the conference is now adjourned. Thank you very much, the hard work, delegate. Thank you very much, and thank you. Congratulations on your achievement. Okay, so okay, before committee, is there a gossip box in the conference?
Yes, Chair. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Sorry.
Is there a gossip box?
Can you repeat it? I didn't listen it well.
Is there a gossip box?
No, there is no question box.
Good riddance. Okay, I did not make it as well though. Okay, so until 1617, since committee has to prepare some things for the closing ceremony at 1617, I will give my 2 cents about 2 cents and also suggestion or advice for later on for you delegates who will attend another MUN, especially for the beginners. Although I am also not that pro, okay. Also, I am not that pro. Okay, so from my perspective, from day 1 and day 2, some delegates are very adamant with their stances, which is good. If they are consistent with their stances from day 1 and then day 2. However, compromise is also important in the event of MUN. So see delegates that MUN is quite different from debate. Okay? From debate, debate is that we are representing only one side of the story. We need to make sure that this one side of the story is accepted by the whole audiences and also our opponent. Okay, in MUN setting and also in the real life UN settings, countries have limits that they want to compromise. If they want other delegates to agree with them, they need to compromise. So abiding by your stances is good. Especially if you have the correct stances from the beginning. Okay, so see, many delegates, they do not research that well, so they come up with a stance that actually do not reflect what their country really wanted with the topic or with the conference. So they stayed with a not so correct stance from the beginning until the end. However, point of consistency is also important. Okay, but minding back to my minding back to my point earlier, compromise is also important. Since in UN you cannot be so selfish with your goals. UN is created to solve the global problem, not to solve your own problem. And if you are you're lucky enough, or if you are skilled enough, you could solve other problems too. That would make you a lot better in the other side. Okay, so that is my perspective on what happened during our 2 days meetings. Okay, if you want, for example, personally ask for personal feedback, you could just chat me in the WhatsApp group. My number is 5398 if my username doesn't show up. Okay, Iver, committee, do you have any announcement or anything?
I'm so sorry, there is a lot of noises because we do this meeting offline for the committee. I really want to thank you for the Chair Nico for accompanying us these 2 days. And I think it's gonna be great if you guys, maybe some of you can share your feelings right now. Is there anyone who want to share your feelings about this conference, 2 days? Yeah.
Okay, anybody could share their comments on my as well. I take feedbacks on my sharing. Yeah. Okay. Anybody could say something. Okay.
Oh, Ken.
Firstly, I want to reiterate my demand for a group picture. We better have a group picture before, because make sure just to remember this moment. Firstly, I know that for many delegates here, perhaps UNFCCC might be first time in MUN or first time in general. And to be honest, I recognize that, let's say, the moderated caucus, maybe delegates are a bit worried because maybe their speeches are not really prepared for that particular motion. But I noticed that in the unmoderated caucus setting, a lot of delegates are far more comfortable speaking, which I was so happy about. That's why I was making sure everyone was speaking, which is great. So, there was a lot of confidence being exuded in the unmoderated caucuses. And so it will be wonderful if you can bring that confidence to the moderated caucuses as well. I think that will definitely help you in your confidence. But I think lastly, I know that delegates probably, maybe because the debates wasn't very heated, it was still pretty much very nice. Everyone kind of had an agreement. So that's a wonderful thing to have in the United Nations, of course. But maybe especially for delegates with more controversial opinions, don't be afraid to say it. Because at the end of the day, even though you might be alone in your controversial opinion, but that's really what debates are for. So it's a really exciting opportunity. I think that the Indonesian MUN circuit definitely needs more newcomers as old people come and go. So please promise me that you'll at least come back to join more MUNs in the future, maybe online, maybe offline. Hopefully you are going to learn from this experience. Hopefully you will feel, I want to do better in the next conference. I want to enjoy the next conference as well. So see you in the future, hopefully, for everyone, and good work. That's from me.
Thank you so much, Ken.
Okay.
Denmark.
Okay, so thank you for this chance. The chairs have been given to me and committees. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Sakif. I'm from the University of Brawijaya. So if you're quite familiar with it, I'm from the law faculty. So we study law and so on and so on. So it is a very exciting opportunity to meet all of you guys from different backgrounds. I know Ken is not from Indonesia, I think, and it is very, very eye-opening to see how backward you are, so how dumb you are in English, because seeing all of you guys speaking very, very fluently is really, really like, okay, I need to learn more, and there's so much I can learn about this type of competition. So it's like, yeah, it's a great experience. And again, like I said, sometimes I may be rude with my language, and sometimes I say things that gets you guys heated. I think it's done purposely. Again, like, I'm not trying to be mean or anything. I just want you guys to be like, okay, this guy insulted me in my country. I want you to retaliate. I want you to kill this Denmark guy. This Denmark guy is very annoying. And I was like, okay, this is what I want. Like, I want you guys to like say something like this. So it's like, I want it to be a heated discussion. I just don't want it to be like more stoic and passive. So it's like, yeah, I want you guys to be real riled up. So yeah, again, I'm not really being mean. I'm a really nice guy, if you know me. I'm really quite funny. So yeah, I'm just really enjoy the debate, and I see all of you guys in the future. Thank you. Nice to see you guys. Bye.
Thank you so much. Okay, Brazil.
First of all, thank you so much for the committee and for all of the people involved to conduct this event, because actually I registered in this MUN like D-1 because I just knew about it, and and because it was so cheap, all right, I was like, oh my god, this is so cheap, I have to register. And I was like really in mood for some MUN, so like yeah, I just go and register. And also how to say this, yeah, I guess that for this is a little bit like a more like personal input, because I was playing safe in this MUN, because yeah, there weren't many participants, but I really enjoy it and because I can how to say this, entirely different perspectives of a country that is usually they're contradictive, or usually they're controversial in their opinions, but right now they are like easy to cooperate with. So, and yeah, it is really a site for an MUN that actually has a DR with autonomous decision and with only one times of voting. Yeah, that is certainly a site in MUN circuit. Well, I think yeah, good job for the committee, good job for all the participants. Thank you so much. And I guess that for all of you guys who will participate in a lot of MUN in this year, I guess I will see you. I will see you in a lot of times in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Brazil. Okay, is there anyone? Okay, Kisna is from China.
Okay, thank you so much. I want to give this is the first time me and MUN. Actually, I have to learn about MUN. What is the public speaking and the pronunciation of the English? I am very bit lower in English, so I want to thankful to Kak Ken, and then from delegate from Brazil have been guiding me to the misunderstanding. And I want to say thank you for to the chair and the committee that have been this MUN. And I want to learn and how to MUN again to the letter. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kisna. Okay, next to Nikki.
Hi, thank you so much for the committee. Firstly, I want to say thank you for the committee to run this conference, because first time I know this conference, but like I want to join, but I cannot speak speak fluently, because I not used to speak or give a speech without any context of text. In this conference, I really learned about how to speak directly, how to speak in last minute, because I usually speak. I usually prepare my speech, and I'm from Yogyakarta too. I'm from HIMAHI as well. HIMAHI Amikom Yogyakarta.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and I really thank you for the Ken. Ken is my friend too. I really thank you for the delegates of Brazil, delegate of France as well, delegates of Denmark too, because with their participant, I could say something. At least I can say what I want to say, because there's a lot of words, there's a lot of idea in my head, but I cannot out the idea of mine. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Rusian. Nikki, I mean, Rusian. Next, is there anyone who want to share your feeling? Or it's enough?
I think Indonesia wants to speak. Indonesia.
Yeah. First, thanks for you guys, and I just want to say sorry for not contribute so much in this committee, because this is my second MUN, and I'm still not very confident to speak and not that fluently speak in English. So But I'm still going to keep learning, and thanks to the committee also who organized this event, and also thank you to the chair. And yeah, that's it, and happy to meet you guys.
Okay, thank you, delegate from Indonesia, for your apa sih kalau kesediaan?
US, you're the only one who last didn't speak. You could share your feelings as well.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you for the experience, and I would like to apologize for not attending this meeting yesterday because I have things to do, and sorry for not really contributing to this. And thank you so much for the experience. Thanks for everything. I met lots of amazing people here, and some of them is from my universities. So yeah, I'm happy to meet you here. Thank you.
Which university you coming from, delegate of United States?
I'm from Brawijaya University.
Oh, so many people from Brawijaya in here. You dominate us. Okay, thank you for your sharing. Chair Miko, did you have like some words for us, or it's enough?
No, I think well, yeah, I think I conclude and then we go with the group photo. Okay. Well, yeah. Thank you, delegates. Okay, thank you, delegates. Thank you, committee, for what is it called, organizing the event. Well, yeah, I encountered this event just because one of the committee chatted me on the DM. Do you want to join this as a delegate? You want to join this as a delegate? And then I counter offered them. Are there any open recruitment for chair? And then they said that there is one. Okay. Chair in the way of counter offer. Okay, guys. So when somebody offer you a place for delegates, you should counter offer them. Okay, one experience. Okay. Nonetheless, it was a very fruitful and very memorable experience to work with you guys for these 2 days. Hope to see you in another MUNs, be it in Indonesian circuit or be it in international circuit as well, guys. See you on top. Okay, technician or committee, could you please take a group pic of us?
Okay, I will count for 3. Farel, back to capture ya. Okay, let's have our pose. Pose. 1, 2, 3. Okay, 1, 2, 3 deh. 1, 2, 3. Once again. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you so much. We will share the photo in the WhatsApp group. Thank you so much again to Chair Miko and all UNFCCC delegates. And this is the end of UNFCCC conference. So we will meet again in the closing ceremony in 4:45 p.m. Don't miss it. See you soon. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Sorry, committee.
Yeah, yes.
Can I not come into closing ceremony because I have another meeting?
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. You can leave from this Zoom meeting room. Thank you.